All right, let's do that.
I hit record.
Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then. So welcome everybody. It's awesome to see you all again. It is February 19th, MVP office hours. The chatter I think is more fun than the intro, so I'll go quick. So as always, Dale and Joy and myself can all be reached via the normal Twitter handles. Feel free to reach out there, or in Success. We've had a lot of good conversations going on in Success. Or just email us, and there's good conversation there. But Success is better because we can all help versus just one or two of us. So events are pretty static. Nothing really to talk about too much there. Albanian Dreaming got added to the event list, but the link doesn't work. So we'll keep updates there to see what happens. It's a long ways off. I see that we added the Salesforce World Tour slide. I think those presentations are continuing throughout the next couple of months, if I'm not mistaken.
We just looked at the site a few minutes ago, and it was a little confusing. Like, I can't tell if it's in past tense or if it's stay tuned for more to come. Like, I couldn't tell. Yeah,
the press release made me think that it's going to be continuing, but you're right, the link isn't great. So we'll keep you updated as soon as we know what everybody needs to know. Oops, and I clicked the link just to prove a point. So, all right. So let's see here. Next up is just a reminder as well. We're always the first and third Friday of the month. EMEA last Thursday of the month, and MVP office hours Portuguese is the last Thursday of the month. It's nice to see you, Carlos. Anything you want to plug there?
No, thanks for the chance. Yes, you don't need to speak Portuguese or Spanish. I pretty much do my best to make the translations. It's always good to have folks around the world. So if you guys can chime in, it's a week from yesterday, next Thursday, last Thursday of the month.
Thank you, sir. Next meeting will be the first Friday of March, March 5th. And at this point of a year of pandemic, we all know that please mute yourself, raise your hand if you've got a question or you want to include yourself in the conversation, announce who you are. Feel free to post links, and as always, you can share your screen, but we are recording, so if it shouldn't be recorded for perpetuity, please don't share. If what you're offering can't be recorded, also, we appreciate your input, but probably should excuse yourself from the conversations, and make sure your data is obfuscated if at all possible. And with that, MVPs in the house. Couple of them, nice to see you all. And so in record time, we're going to jump right to the good stuff. So we had a whole bunch of stuff come in on chat and on email. Dale, before I get into this, I saw that Mike couldn't make it. Do you want to hold this off till next time so he can be part of that conversation?
I didn't know if we wanted to at least do like 20 seconds on it so he could see the recording.
Okay. Why don't we do that right up?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, why don't we do that right now then, and we can get it out of the way.
Sure. Okay, here, let me share my screen because I have the place to go. Although, guys, technically as host, I can just steal it. But so if everybody can see my dev org, so the question in question was business installed a package 6 years ago, which is still being used today. Unfortunately, the vendor and the installation is long gone with no notes on the installation and integration. The package owner identified the package as nearing end of life, and in December, there was a lapse in paying the license fee. So with all of that, we now have problems. So what are the options to understand how and where the package is integrated into Salesforce? So the super simple best way that I instructed him to look was if you, I replied in his email, this is good for everybody. If you search for installed packages, every package you install, if my gigabit ever decides to, live up to its name, will have a button called View Components. If you click that, you get a monstrously insane but incredibly valuable long list, except for with Octopus. And maybe that's why I like Octopus so much. But everything, every piece of metadata, every component, every entity that went into that package is listed here. You can do a simple copy paste into a spreadsheet and at least start to use this as your to-do list of things to investigate. The question, like one of the issues that he mentioned was with that lapse, users are unable to create activities, unable to edit contacts. First instinct is that that's a CRUD issue, a field level security issue. You would be able to theoretically look for, were there any profiles created in this? What profiles were they? Then go look to match that up with your user list of what profiles are they in. Maybe that's a start. The problem with managed packages, as a lot of us have figured out, is you can't edit. You can't modify many or any of the components in there, especially when you start getting into code and flows and all that kind of stuff. But it could at least start, it could serve as a starting point of where should I go look first. So this is, like I said, this is super easy to copy paste into a spreadsheet, turn on a filter, start filtering down for what got installed, what might be the culprit. I have never had to do anything more intensely deep than that. But if anybody else has run into that same issue, please unmute, speak up. What have you done?
Just noting too, sometimes they install permission sets, so to look at those as well.
Yep.
I haven't run into that issue other than going there and trying to figure out what's wrong when there is an issue.
Right.
We've had the opposite. We had an install package actually start running processes that was like this infinite loop and actually shut us down API call wise. And that caused an issue and we wound up having to uninstall their whole package. But
wow.
Yeah, it's hard here because it says that they can no longer create activity. So it almost leads me to believe that that managed package overwrote, like is using its own activity object, not the native, right? Which might go away if they don't renew it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
in there too.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Susan, good call, Susan, that the app exchange, even if it's not being paid for, it probably still has documentation out there somewhere that you might be able to dig through.
Yeah.
The a little bit more heavy-handed, but sometimes more insightful is get a small group of power users, the people who know the platform, and uninstall it in UAT in your full sandbox and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can be like the reverse engineer it almost. It's a lot less insightful, I think, but sometimes tells you more by what just broke versus what could break. So.
Yep. So, Mike, hope that helped, bud. We, you know where to find us if you need more detective work on it. Happy to help. So, thank you. All right, back to you, Squire.
All right, cool. So let's, oops, that's not that one. All right, so let's go. Come on. Why does everything have to be so difficult? All right, so Shakira had a question in our email. Needs to have the ability to have contracts that span over multiple years with different prices for different years. Currently, when products are added to an opportunity, they have to add the product 3 times if it covers 2 years and populate different prices each year. We don't have CPQ. We also like to report on annual contract value versus total contract value. Is there a way to calculate ACV in the amount field to show us, to allow us to use the forecasting and other native Salesforce functionality that relies on the amount field? It's a lot going on there.
So we did get a couple of responses in the success group, which I'm clicking over to. Again, gigabit, not always that fast. We had one response from Stu, some thoughts on this that don't require CPQ. There is an automation hour video that gave some ideas on using flow and custom metadata types. What if you were to combine opportunities, products, assets, custom metadata types, and flow together in such a way to build out a product prices differently based on the year, and then calculate ACV and TCV based on those yearly amounts. And then Geraldine Gray put something in the MVP water cooler that I believe she said revenue scheduling or build a custom revenue scheduling tool. So far 100% of our answers include some form of automation.
I don't see her on, and I think I mispronounced her name. I apologize. Is it Shakiria? Is that how you pronounce that? If she's on, if you would unmute and join us, answer some questions.
I don't see her.
Okay. I see a couple phone numbers. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anybody.
For sure.
Yeah, everything we do is off of annual contract value, ACV. And of course, opportunity products is, you roll up products, the total is the total, right? 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. So we let the total field be the total contract, the TCV, the total contract value. And then we created an ACV field on opportunity that calculates the annual value. And we pass that on the contract. I have the total, the annual, and then the monthly, actually, because that's important to us. And then we also capture that on the account object. But when we're looking year over year, we use the opportunities because we'll create renewal opportunities, and we create not right sizing, but adjustment opportunities if we did a ramp deal or something like that. So we use the roll up of all the opportunities really to get to year over year what that looks like. I don't know if that would help or not, but just my 2 cents, because we don't use CPQ either.
We had a flow that basically created a record, an unrelated object record that stored all the variables. So it asked you a bunch of questions, created a handful of things, and then on save, it then generated all the appropriate product records. So we ended up with a lot of overhead, but sometimes you have a lot more kind of comfort, I guess, in turning one data set into another data set and really letting the flow drive data entry. So it sounds similar, I think. That multiple contract year with lots of different prices, I think, is a pretty regular occurrence in these annual contract type things. So, okay, well, we will hopefully have her join us in 2 weeks, and or maybe she'll respond and let us know if any of this helped. So, if you have any other ideas, please post them in the success community.
We can just post the recording link to her question, and she can say, "Oh."
I'll see if I can figure that out. That's a good call.
We'll get it.
All right. And then the last one from the interwebs is from Rob, who I saw. Rob, do you want to just dive into this?
Can I do a sound check? Are you hearing me, Squire?
Yes.
Nice. Joy, your head is going up and down properly, and you are staring at the camera. So I think you're probably medically.
You have a smiley face on the camera. It's really cute.
I will say a prayer for you. Let's see. I got screen share, Priv? Square?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, great.
It's all that Zoom bombing that happens.
All yours. Go ahead.
Love that Zoom bombing. Switched cables just before the meeting started. Tell me which screen you're seeing.
We see a lot of blue and client-centered architecture.
I love it. Hit the nose right on the head. So, by the way, this is a beautiful PowerPoint slide. It builds nicely. For this business, which works with people in need of some very specific medical treatment, let's leave it at that. My client gives them referrals, if you will. And so their clients begin as what we call potential clients, which is the lead object, and they convert them to either a person account, which would be a client. That's it. They convert them to, but that object is accounts, and I'm managing both business accounts and person accounts via record types. So these clients may end up being referred to a facility. And of course, we track the contacts that work at the facility. So the need here is a way for my client to check with a couple of facilities, find out if they have availability. So maybe you have 2 referrals that you want to make, and you want to refer the contact and the facility to the client or the client's family. Cases not related to the problem set. I've gone into Sandbox, and of course I have found a way to list a facility name and a contact name on a product because it's just a lookup to contacts. And therefore I can build a list of what we would normally call OPLIs, or opportunity product line items, that could be used in a quote. And then of course it makes that nice spiffy PDF that I'm looking for. But it requires the use of opportunities between this quote and the client. I can't find a way around that. And so I'm thinking that my 2 alternatives are either a custom object and then one of the App Exchange quoting tools, which would replace the standard quoting that we see in Salesforce. And that might be a good way to go, certainly simpler. Or perhaps, and I haven't done much flow yet, but that might be a good learning opportunity for me, design a flow that automates the creation of an opportunity, but leaves it hidden in the background. And then right afterwards, opens the quote on a display. And then my users would, list the OPLIs that they need and carry on. So part 1 of the question is, have I explained this well? And then part 2 is, who's got some thoughts? Joy, you're laughing. Why?
Because this is out of my knowledge bank.
Do they already use quotes without opportunities? Like, do you have to
No.
quote? Because you could use opportunity. We don't use quotes. We use opportunities in products, but we don't use the quoting object natively.
You use quotes without.
We don't.
Okay,
We don't.
say more about that, Gina.
So we don't use quotes. So everything on the opportunity is what we use to generate our order forms. And you can put products on opportunities, right, without using the quote object. So you could go through that whole, instead of using quote. That's why my question to you is, are they already
you could put products on an opportunity without using quote. I understand that, but here's the thing. I'm trying to give them the push the button, send the referral quote. That's the key feature that they'd be looking for. These are very unsophisticated people.
But you can send a quote from an opportunity. That's what we do. We send our forms, we use Conga, we generate a form and we send it via DocuSign right from the opportunity object. We don't use quotes at all.
Yeah, Conga is
So, Rob,
right, Gina?
I'm sorry? Conga Compose.
Conga is the key piece to that process, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So can you more? I mean, I'm not sure how many people on the call are familiar with Conga. You want to speak to that a little bit?
I am.
Me?
Oh, Gina, go ahead. Speak to Conga.
Anybody. I'm not, and maybe the whole room knows what Conga is, but I just want to make sure we don't skip over that.
Yeah, I
Can't wait to hear about it. So
Conga, it's I would say the UI is not so nice, but for the user, it's basically a document generator. And there's other ones that are, I think, even easier, like SDocs, and there might be some other App Exchange. We pick Conga because we have a relationship with them. But Conga Composer has the ability to do a PDF generation of really any objects. So we use it on opportunity. We use opportunity and opportunity products. We also pull in some account data as well. We merge all that onto an order form. So when you get an own backup order form to sign, that's Conga that generated that form.
Yep.
And Gina, the PDF it generates is stored as a file on the opportunity, but how do you get it to your client?
So we use DocuSign. So DocuSign picks up that template. I have a custom DocuSign button, send order form. And when they hit that, it picks up that order form and and has the routing already there based on the contacts they have on the opportunity, et cetera. And then it sends it right off and it routes it appropriately, externally and internally. And the users have flexibility. If they want to change that routing, they can, but for the most part, they don't.
And then Gina, question going back to your use of products on Opportunity, you're not limited to a single product. You could list several products.
Correct. We do. We do. We have backup products, archiver products. We have services. Yeah, so we have even different product lines on that one order form. And the nice thing about Conga is you can create what they call queries. So in my product section, I have our core products, right? Then if we do any kind of services, that's a separate query, and I can make that look differently. So I can make that just have the product and a total as opposed to it's priced per month, like, because we're SaaS, right? So that it gives you flexibility. You could break out your products.
Okay, I will give that a try in a sandbox, see if I can make that work. That's a good suggestion. I had a feeling that it was going to be some sort of third party that would help me with that, because I think there's too much of a limitation around the standard.
Yeah, and Conga might be overkill for what you need. You know, you might want to look at other App Exchange products too. I'm sorry, I had whoever.
Was that you?
Yeah, this is Susan. I have done both. So we've got Conga, works great, love it. I've also built a custom quote solution, not for this limitation per se, but for others without using opportunities. And with essentially a Visualforce PDF that generates to spit out a quote document. But there was, if you're using CPQ, I think you can use quotes without opportunities now, or they're in a pilot. So that might be something to consider as well if you want to stay more standard.
I'll look at that too. Thanks, Susan.
And I also wanted to offer a couple comments in the chat. A lot of DocuSign for Salesforce generation there. It's not like you said you've already got Conga though.
If that was a question for me, Squire, we do not, but I have used past implementations. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yep.
So I maybe look at both. I know there's a lot of pros and cons to both of those platforms, both good and bad. So
the DocuSign UI is much cleaner.
Yeah, love the DocuSign. Definitely love the DocuSign.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that my clients who are well-heeled and very digital, I think they would actually appreciate the opportunity to electronically sign for a family member. So yeah, that's part of my thinking as well. Thanks.
I think, this is Ernesto, I think I would like to add two things. One, it's like Susan said, you can do a PDF creation via Visualforce page, but I would recommend you only do that if you know that it's not going to change ever. Because otherwise you need a developer, or you, if you have the expertise, to actually change it all the time. But if you do need the flexibility, then Conga or DocuSign, hopefully something easier than Conga, because yes, Conga is very particular on using it. You have to know SQL pretty much. But yeah, so that's the two things I wanted to give you, because I have both in my org. And for one that I don't change it ever, then we just did a Visualforce page. It took my developer a day. But you know, Conga is the other alternative, or DocuSign, or whatever there is.
Thanks, Ernesto. I mean, how many of us have never, ever heard a client say, or never used the words, I've changed my mind?
I will tell you, Conga has a great help desk. They helped me when I did this. This order form has probably 500 merge fields on it, and they really helped me through it. So they do have a great support team to help you with their UI.
Yes.
And they also have,
I'm not as impressed with their product management team when 6 months ago I was asking them, would you please tell me if the AppDesk acquisition is going to allow you to finally do turn off the ability for countersigning when you don't want it countersigned. But that's a whole nother story we don't have time for. Thank you.
I'm going down that CLM route right now, actually. So
yeah, good luck.
Appreciate that comment.
Good luck.
Thanks, Rob.
I'm going to give up the microphone. Thanks, Squire. Good to see you.
Bet. There it looks like there was a couple comments that came up in the chat. See, Ernesto, you were asking about a backup solution, and I would concur what you were seeing in the chat that OwnBackup is kind of the champion of that. But I'm sure there's other tools. I want to throw it out to the rest of the group. Are there other solutions that OwnBackup for that sort of need? And maybe you want to talk about your need.
Oh, my need is basically, other than just a simple backup, they need to be able to handle a highly customized app where you're talking about configurations. Think of it almost engineering configuration of a product. And I just had a call actually today with OwnBackup, and they said that most likely their solution will suffice. They think they can do it. But yeah, that's something to see. But that's why I'm asking. It's kind of like my Salesforce is not regular Salesforce. It's highly customized. Basically, think of it as you buy the Salesforce because you want to use it the way that it is, but actually you don't. You just customize the heck out of it to not do it the same way that everybody else does it.
Well, and I'll offer, Ernesto, I think there's more percentage of the people out there doing it that you described than using it as purchased. So
yeah, okay.
Don't feel like you're the odd man out there. So
yeah, so I keep going with them. There's another company, I can't remember the name, but also Odaseva, there was another one, and there was completely no reply from them at all. So bad business, I guess.
yeah.
But cool. Thank you, guys.
All right. Let's see here. Raji, I believe, was asking about Selenium testing. Raji, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I have like this problem when we deploy. Sometimes some UI changes happen, which we don't want. So I was looking if there was somebody has any experience in how do they do UI test, not manual. Like if I'm deploying something related to some functionality, but something else breaks. So I want a way to build up minimum UI tests so that I know before anybody else has these issues in production.
Yeah, that one's painful. I'll offer that we scrapped all of our Selenium testing from UI because the 3 times a year Salesforce releases alone were causing our overhead, a little less than actual changes causing breaks. So we backed out of that. So I'm hoping someone has a better answer than give up.
I will give up if I were you.
Because I know we can do a lot of like in the test classes we can manage, but on the UI part, there is like when we deploy CPQ records, sometimes some things that were not supposed to go into prod go in. As a result, UI changes happen. So I was wondering if anybody has any experience solving this problem.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of build on what I was saying earlier. So we ended up I shouldn't say just because it wasn't like that. We built a more robust change management and change review system. So we weren't actually changing the UI. We're over evaluating the changes themselves because our UI testing was failing.
Okay.
Are you using like Jira or some sort of change management platform?
We use Copado.
Okay, all right.
As long as the metadata is fine and we control like manual changes, I just sometimes CPQ changes they don't deploy as we want it to control way. So yeah.
Yeah. We know somebody who works at Copado that might be able to speak to some of that, unless he bailed on us. Did Carlos have to leave on us? So I just threw him under the bus. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's, yeah, we could wax poetically on that challenge. I think there's a lot of people experiencing that. I mean, I do I would want to ask, the big thing is that sometimes UI change testing. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth here. I'm gonna say UI testing is sometimes moot in the platform because under the covers, there's already resiliency built into the Salesforce UI. And so I think that's why it ends up kind of being secondary to the metadata and you know, your code testing, your limits testing versus the UI testing, because you're living inside of a platform that's designed to be functional. So testing things like Visual Force or custom Lightning components, where you have full control over what's being modified, change after change after change, probably has a lot more value than, say, you know, a standard account page layout or account UI.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
that
don't want
makes
to tell you
sense.
not to as much as just kind of call that out. So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, anybody else? This isn't my show. I'm curious what other people are dealing with.
I've done multiple applications at enterprise level outside Salesforce, and I can tell you, I am not messing with the UI of Salesforce, just because otherwise you get into a rabbit hole. And like Squire said, it's already a well-taught design. Yes, there's improvement there, but I think the compromise is probably not worth it.
Yeah, this is Susan. We're kind of in the same boat as Squire, where the Selenium, while would be nice to have, it's just not worth it in most cases. We're focused more on the functionality and the logic behind it and less on the UI.
Plus, the problem is that you don't own Salesforce. They can do whatever they want next. You know, the stuff will work with their UI or their UI changes, but you don't know what is going to happen in the next release. They might change the whole platform again.
Yeah, I remember when the toolbar or the tab bar used to be on the left-hand side. Months later, it was on the top. How many cylinders had to get fixed after that? And you had nothing you could do about it. So, I mean, I do think there's a really good conversation about, and maybe it's an infrastructure conversation, but there's a lot of value in understanding why you test and not just testing, not necessarily for you, Aji, if I hope I'm saying your name right. You know, we had a conversation about internally about, is our unit tests, do they meet our requirements? And it turned into kind of a rabbit hole of, should we be writing unit tests for all of our flows and processes? And, you know, out of the box, I think a long-term programmatic developer will say, yeah, you test everything. And we had a good conversation about, well, the platform is self-referential, it self-corrects. You know, do you need a test class for every process? Yes or no? And maybe that's where you're at now in your process, or your, keep saying process, your discovery is, we're going to make a known decision to not test the UI for these specific reasons, or we're only going to test in these reasons because we're able to, and maybe not churn on it. So.
Okay.
Good luck. Keep us informed if you learn anything, or try another product, because everybody can learn from that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll share if we find something, or even if we decide to not to go that route.
Selenium is the right option. It's just, I don't know, for Salesforce.
So I think next in the list of chat questions that we had, and we did have some links going back and forth, was about certification maintenance. And there's a number of links on Trailhead that talk about that. But in terms of specific dates coming up, and this, I mean, this applies to everybody. Obviously, we're in a wonkier than normal schedule because of COVID. Now only doing once a year instead of 3x per year, but this is the schedule as they've laid it out. If these are the prereq tests, if you have any of these, go renew it by April 9th. Don't lose those certs.
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months, which can be tomorrow. So if you don't keep on top of it. So definitely keep this in mind. And then
What I'd like you to notice though, is that the date available was April 15th, 2020 for spring. And so I would suspect that if you add that, just mid-April is when you can expect spring 21.
Right.
But that's just a shot in the dark. That's based on what we see.
Yep. And then, yeah, same logic to summer in August and winter in December. There's also, is it verify certifications where you see what you're up against, or do you have to actually go?
You can go to your profile and it'll tell you what's due and where you're at.
Yeah,
We're gonna see all of Dale's dirty laundry here. Watch this.
Oh, that's Web Assessor. That's the list of dirty laundry.
No, but yeah, this is true. But here, if you click on is it lower? Like they all say you're active, and
Don't they say that you need to do your maintenance?
yeah, if it's due, it wouldn't be that green little. It would say. But where's the rest of your certifications?
They're in the clouds. They're in the cloud.
Right, but you have
Sales, service,
6,
and
but there's
community.
only 3 displaying. So
Right.
where's the rest of them?
Because the other 3, if I don't redo my admin, I lose well, all of them except for except for app dev or app builder.
Right, platform, right. So, but this is where you can keep track of what's going on. I think if you click on that pencil, the little edit pencil, you get more of your achievements, but I'm a liar. Who knows?
No. You can also do
Just-
that. You can also request from Web Assessor, right? Up at the top. You can-
No, there's a module in here. So let's hold on.
Yep, verify
Yep, right there.
certifications, and then
That's what I was wondering is,
Yep.
is it in verify?
Yep.
So
plug in your email or your full name.
Yep. That left side, by the way, we use quite regularly when we're interviewing. Verify. So this is great for both your own use and if you're interviewing for admins, devs, whoever. So.
Woo! No action required today. Yeah,
Nice.
and I'd say there's usually an email that goes out when the new exam comes through, and if you're expected to complete it and that sort of stuff. So Web Assessor has a special it used to have a very special email alert for me, but it's changed, and so it's like, how do I make sure I see that now? So anything that says credential gets flagged in my inbox.
All right, we got Andrea with a query to pose to the group.
Yes. I have no idea if this is possible, but this is fun. So I
Can
have
we talk about Pee-wee's Playhouse? We're talking about Pee-wee's Playhouse. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the nice balance of like, it's a fun background, but it's also generally work appropriate. So
Go for it.
So I have a sales ops person that wants to be able to get in a report, or an easy way, a sum of averages. And this, because we're using CPQ, and so there's different prices over the like however many years of a contract. And so they pay commission. Essentially, she needs the average of the line item values over the 4 years. So if it's, $100, $200, $300, $400, whatever, average of that. But then she also needs to take the sum of all of those averages. And I'm like, well, you could do like a DLRS onto the quote, but it's not necessarily going to be, I have no idea how many products they're going to need to do this for. So that's not really an option. I'm like, I don't know if you could do that in a report. So that's my query. Is that a thing? Is that doable?
You put a formula field to average it on the product line. So that would give you the average for the product, and then in the report, sum the averages.
Maybe I can find out, because
like with a roll-up summary or something, you mean? Or
yeah, you could do it that way too. Yeah.
And you could probably use like previous group val formulas to get the average and then sum the averages in a matrix report, but they're ugly, right?
Yeah, and I don't know that she'd be able to follow what it was all doing in the long run.
Yeah, I like Gina's idea. You store the average of the product values at the parent record that you're going to report, and then sum those as its own column in your output.
So
Yeah, and that was my thought, was to store the, like, essentially the quote lines on the quote. But if it's, I don't know how many products I'm gonna have to do it for. So if there's like 5 products that all need this, then I might need 5. I would potentially need 5 fields, right?
honestly, like I liked your idea of DLRS, to be honest. It
But-
feels like it could capture more of, it feels like it's more scalable.
Right, but again, the problem that I have is, like, if it's product, like, she needs to do this, she needs the averages of, like, product A and the averages separately of, like, product B.
Mhm.
And then products, so, but if all of those are on, so I don't need all of them together, I need only product A rolled up, product B rolled up, product
Reporting
C.
snapshots. Reporting snapshots. So your first,
yes,
you'd average, dump that into a custom object, then report on the sums of that custom object.
that could, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Nobody ever does. It's my most favorite forgotten feature.
So I just have to find out, just let her know, like, FYI, like, you're not going to be able, we can do this, but
Right.
it's not, she can't go back and futz with things.
But
afterwards.
you can create the objects with
Oh,
that data to go backwards.
I have backfilled reporting. Yeah.
Right,
The
so, I
reporting,
mean-
the snapshot object. So,
She won't be able to futz with it, but you will.
right. So, okay. We'll see how, if how badly she needs that in this scheme of all the other things, but cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice.
Yes, Susan, that did just make my day.
Oh, I love a good snapshot.
I used to use them all the time. I don't know why I don't. Well, I'm out of space. That's why I don't use them.
The only thing that I totally understand why you can't, but the only thing that makes me mad about reporting snapshots is that you can't then use those to fire automation.
Yeah, you end up having to do it with flow, which isn't a snapshot anymore. You're just generating records all the time, right?
Well, it was more what I was looking for was once the snapshot is created, now go do something with that snapshot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I get why. I mean, you'd break the crap out of the engine by doing that.
I want to jump back just really quick. I asked the question in the chat, DLRS versus flow. We're in the midst of sunsetting our DLRS implementation because we're seeing that flow does it better now than it used to. Are you a heavy DLRS user, Andrea?
Fairly. I would previously used whatchamacallit, Roll-Up Helper from, can't think of the company name right now, and then I discovered DLRS for free. So we've got, how many do we have right now? I think we probably have like maybe 15 or so of them running.
Okay.
It's just like I'm good enough at it at this point where I'm like, it's so quick to throw it together.
Sure. Are they real times or are they scheduled?
They are, I think they're all real time.
Cool. And are you in the new package so it's all metadata, or is it you still in the old one where it's all hard-coded data? Like deploy DLRSs?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yes, they are all custom metadata types.
Cool. All right.
Okay, great.
Passage Tech that was a reference to the.
That's the company that makes Roll-Up Helper.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's everything I saw in the thread. Did anybody see anything else? Oh, Joy's having a fit. Do we need to call somebody?
No. I have a question.
Okay, good.
Because I don't like the pushback that I'm dealing with on this one. I have a situation where someone is asking for a new opportunity button on the opportunity list view, but it's a new specific record type opportunity button. And I'm trying to convince them that it's really not that hard to set up the default opportunity record type. Assuming I'm not going to be able to convince them that they can set up a default record type. Can I do that without doing the button hijinks, right? The JavaScript button hack, right? Because we don't necessarily want to do that anymore in Lightning, especially. It's something we could do in Classic, but we can't do anymore. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Oh, hold on. I was multitasking. What are you trying not to JavaScript hack?
A new opportunity record type button on the opportunity list view page. So, you have new opportunity and then you've got to choose the record type. This request is to not choose, they just make it this specific one. And then
So that's now supported functionality. You can now cram those parameters into a button and it's supported. That was 2 or 3 releases ago, I think.
did I miss that? That's fantastic.
It was
Supported.
buried way deep under the covers in section 38 or something.
Yeah, they didn't want to tell you that the hacks were back, right?
Yeah.
So that hack, that was a sweet spot for me in my about 5 years ago. That was in my manager almost presented on that at Dreamforce, and they're like, well, we're not going to support that anymore. You can't present on it. So that's okay. Well, hack the button
it's a good
away.
idea because now it was Salesforce's idea.
Right. Well, and also with, if they're going to start requiring everyone to have MFA, the hack is a little bit different. So there's probably security in place to protect it now. So
Right. And so
will hack
with that, they did how you lay out the parameters of what to pre-fill the fields with it. I don't think it's how you would have traditionally done it. I think the syntax is a little bit different to get it into the supported realm. So go look at what that is. But yeah,
Right.
It's back in the realm of supported.
yeah. So so the question was, are we just talking about a quick action? Well, no, because it needs to be displayed on the records list view page, not just on I can build it and set it on the account record. I can build it and set it on a contact record, but to put it on the opportunity list view page is a whole nother level of intensity, I suppose.
I have a question on that. So the other way to do that, will it be to create a different profile and you assign the record type default to that profile specifically?
Right, that's the default. But then when they need something else, they're like, oh, what am I going to do?
Right.
I'm dealing with
Okay.
some non-tech savvy folks that are struggling to use
Yeah.
Salesforce. And so we're just trying to spoon feed it now without them having to dig out if they need the alternative.
Okay.
If they only needed to be able to create this default action, you only create this record type. I could certainly just set them up that way. That would be fine, but
Okay.
they need to be able to create all of them. Trust me, I push back and forth on this. I'm like, what's the why behind this? Why are we doing this? Why is this being asked for? And it comes down to the users are not as technical savvy as we would like them to be. But
Okay.
Joy,
I just wanted to.
Joy,
go ahead, Susan. You go first.
are you having a seizure?
no, tell me
All right.
more. Tell me more.
Okay, so one option, while it doesn't exactly put it on the list view, you could put a screen flow on the utility bar, which would be visible on the list view page, to then, when they click it, you can pre-default the record type and then display the fields that they need to add to create that opportunity. So that might be an option.
The screen flow, yeah, that's worth looking into because I haven't dabbled as much in that as I would like. So that's definitely an idea. I like it.
We had a pick list that defaulted on the page layout that comes after the action button. We had a pick list for each of those buttons that was a text string that basically said you're about to create an X opportunity, and then used a flow in the background to then change the record type on save. And then they didn't even know they were picking a record type. And we used metadata to be able to, it would always work then. So every time you flow, you say, what's the pick list? Get the ID of the record type on save, update the record type to the opportunity you just created. And that way, because we have dozens of those types of buttons, that's one that we've done too.
It's good to know. Good to know. Good thoughts. Like it's a fairly new org, and so they're still learning what they're doing. Like we just got to a point where they're like, "Can we rename this record type?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can, but why? What's the use case here?" And we're talking through all that stuff, and they're like, "Well, this is just one of the record types we need, and we need to rename this because this is supposed to be the big umbrella." And I'm like, "Okay, great."
Yep.
Fun times. But ScreenFlow, that sounds like more fun, Susan. ScreenFlow.
And you get to introduce them to utility bar, which then turns into even more user functionality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the other struggle, is that we're going to be introducing like an entirely new component into the mix.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
If they just use the actual interface, it would be such an easy job to have, though, right?
Right. I mean, I even there was even a request about can we load opportunity data, like, right? And I was like, why are we loading opportunity data? What's the volume? Like, how often are you planning on doing this? Is this like 100 a day, 100 a week, like 5 a day, 5 a week? Like, what are we at here? And they're like, oh no, just 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I was like, okay, so no, we're not doing this.
But Joy, you don't understand. Sales needs to keep salesing. They can't click. They are salesing.
And they can use Excel to maintain it.
Yes.
What's better than that?
I know, right? One of my greatest moments was getting out of Excel and into Salesforce implementation. Like that was like my first Salesforce experience, and I was like so glad to be out of this all customer file. And so when people start telling me that I live in Excel, I was like, no, you don't want to live in Excel. You don't.
Not anymore.
No, not for sales. So,
Sarah, did you want to throw an idea out there? I saw you type something.
ooh, quick actions. Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying, I have a bunch of different quick actions. One that like makes a membership record type opportunity. One that makes a donation, but they're all just buttons, and that's not going to really help from
where do you have those living?
Yeah, they're mostly on contact records, which doesn't get to the list view part.
Yep. So my initial solution for this particular problem was I dropped it on the account record, right?
Yeah,
I was like, here you go, poof, perfect. On the account record. They don't require the account until like the third step of the opportunity.
Oh, weird.
So, well, everyone's unique, right? And so I was like, all right, so maybe that's not the best place to put it, but you are talking to a person. So maybe we can put it on the contact record. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you making the decision with? And so we'll try some things and see what we can get out of them.
Yeah. Or I think Squire's idea, I was going to say, have a button that launches a flow that walks them through it. Because I have a bunch of quick actions that just launch flows.
You got to give Susan credit. That was her idea.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was sort of tuned out for a moment.
That's okay.
That's all right.
That's okay. Multitasking is the name of the game. I mean,
yeah.
Cool. Got some ideas. I like it.
3 minutes. It's lightning round time. Anybody have anything else they wanted to revisit or throw out there for the group?
Well, since I'm paying attention again. I just saw something recently and I just can't remember. So I was wondering if anybody else had it off the top of their head. Is there I know that with record triggered flows, they can't out of the box run subflows, but I thought I saw there was an unofficial SF component or a custom action Apex action that does it. Does anybody remember about that?
I let me find, someone linked me to it in Ohana's Slack.
Okay.
I will find it. I will message you because I had that same thing. Yes, record triggered flows cannot fire subflows currently. There's also an idea. I'll find that link as well. And I don't remember what it's called right now, but I will find those. Actually, I'll do that right now.
Andrea, would you put the link in success?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will do that.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ernesto. All right. Minute and 30 seconds. Why don't I give you back enough time to get a cup of coffee for your next meeting?
Here it is. Whipped cream. Yep. It's whipped cream coffee today.
Nice, nice.
I earned it with this like black eye. That's the
Yeah, you sure enough did.
All right, well, we'll close up shop then. Thank you everyone for being part of this call. It really is great to see you all and to share and to just like feel like you're in person for a while. So, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Bye. Bye-bye. Au revoir, farewell, auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Yes. What did you move your office, Joy?
No, so it's a virtual background, right? But that is what is in my office that my husband is using because he has more going on than I do most days and needs like the closed door space more than I do. So he's in the office with that as his actual background, and I am in my mini desk situation in our bedroom, which is fine. It's just I got to wait till after he gets out of the shower to be hanging around in here. So.
Understood. Understood. All right.
So
take care.
Bye, everybody. Yeah.
Put a steak on that eye.
It's maybe I'll just match the eyeshadow. Like
Jeez. I'm sorry.